Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Business First Creatives podcast. Guys, this is the first episode in a brand new series. And if you've listened to my previous episode about how I build these series, I did this completely different, completely wrong, depending on how you look at it. Instead of interviewing a few people like I normally do and being like, oh, that would make a good series, let me just add one more person to the mix. Guys, I planned this series from beginning to end, and now it has 8 fucking people in it. This is why I don't plan a series, okay? 8 people I have invited for this series, which is the Marketing with Intention series. And first up is our girl, Tayler. I am going to let her introduce herself. She is amazing. And we're also going to talk about some tech. You guys know I love to talk about tech. So Tayler, welcome to the podcast and give the audience an introduction.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, first off, y'all, like we immediately bonded over our mutual love of rainbows. So Collie's wearing rainbow glasses. I have a rainbow shirt on. I ski in a rainbow jacket.
It's all good.
We're simpatico on the rainbow front. But my name is Tayler Cusick-Hollman, and I'm the founder of Enji. My background is in small business marketing consulting, and I've been doing that since 2015. And because my corner of the universe, I hang out with way too many boys and way too many boys in technology. Mm-hmm. When I really realized, hey, there's this really existential problem that small business owners who have to do their own marketing have. And so my brain went to, I'll create some software.
Yeah.
So, that's how we got to the whole tech startup founder title. But I mean, really, over the course of my time being self-employed, because I'm a terrible corporate employee, all of my heart and soul has been pouring into different ways that I can make marketing way less shitty for the people who have to do it for themselves, because it is so important to each of our businesses. And it's so emotionally loaded with all of these things on top of it just taking so much of the time that we all don't feel like we have. And so that's why I wake up every day and I'm like, how do I make this even just a little bit more accessible and a little bit easier and faster for folks? So that's what you'll find me tippy-tapping at my computer for way too long every day, minus when I'm downhill mountain biking or skiing. So
yeah, I mean, so Tayler enjoys the outdoors. That is where we parted ways, guys. She started talking about her love of skiing, and I was like, okay, we are no longer friends. Let's move on with this podcast interview. I mean, Everybody knows I'm definitely not an outdoorsy person. But guys, the reason that Tayler is here is because in the rest of this series, you are going to hear from some really amazing small business owners who are going to tell you about the different kinds of marketing that can help your business. But Tayler is here to kickstart this whole thing. I have listened to Tayler on 3 different podcast episodes recently. She and I were also both part of Click to Convert, which was an online marketing summit put on by Inkpot Creative, who have also been on this podcast before. But I remember listening to her presentation in that summit, and I was like, oh, I should invite Tayler to the podcast. And y'all know me, if I don't make a note, I don't remember that shit. So then it was 3 weeks later when I heard her on someone else's podcast. I don't remember who the first one was, but then she was on Jordan Gill's, and you guys know I love Jordan. Jordan's been on this podcast. And I was like, okay, no, Tayler should come on. Oh, now I remember whose podcast it was. You were on the Kara Report. Kara happens to be my blog writer. And I was like, that was when I sent you the message. Do you want to come be on my podcast? But guys, what Tayler has talked about on other people's podcasts is marketing by accident and how we have to get us all to stop. But before we talk about that topic, Tayler, I want to talk about the importance of marketing for small business owners in the first place. Because I feel like none of us jump into entrepreneurship with any fucking clue of how much marketing is going to play a role in our business. So let's just start with I don't know if we want to start with some numbers, but if we are talking about 100% of the time that you spend in your business doing your marketing, doing your communicating, doing the actual service that you provide, doing your bookkeeping, all the pieces of the puzzle, how much should we be devoting to our marketing? And I know that it's going to vary, but how much should we be devoting to our marketing?
I have to start my answer with, it's the biggest bait and switch of all time. When you start your own business and you're like, I'm going to bake cakes. That's what I'm going to spend my time in the kitchen doing this thing that I love. And then all of a sudden it's like, psych, you're going to spend your time looking at your accounting software and tracking down invoices and trying to get people to understand that you even exist so that you can bake said cakes, right? It's this really amazing opportunity that, and I mean, it's a big like jump that we all take to start our own businesses. And there's just so much of it that we are so in the dark about. Mm-hmm. And marketing is a huge piece of that. So my answer to your question of how much time should we be spending on marketing is I'm going to give you like a very non-answer answer.
Yeah,
and that's however much time you can dedicate to it. And, you know, I talk to small business owners like it's my job. I mean, it kind of is my job, but one of the questions that we ask in the marketing strategy questionnaire that's a part of how someone creates their marketing strategy in Enji is how many hours per week do you have to work on marketing, to dedicate to marketing? And I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's over or about a third of small business owners who have answered that questionnaire tell us they have 1 to 2 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And I think that is so important for everyone to know, because most people, when I ask them that question in real life, or at least I can see their face, they make this face. They're like, I have like an hour or 2 a week. And they're really kind of embarrassed or ashamed to say that number because it is so small. But that's kind of the norm. You know, every once in a while I meet someone who says, I have more like 4 to 6 hours a week, but it is so rare. So rare that I ever talk to someone who says, oh yeah, I have like 20 hours a week that I can work on my marketing. Because if that's the case, then that business has probably already gotten to a certain point where they've been able to outsource other components, right? And so then they, as the business owner, can spend the majority of their time doing strategic things. But for those of us who are in the weeds, it is not a lot of time. And so it's whenever someone is sitting there and trying to decide how much time, finger quote, should they spend on marketing, the answer is however much time you can protect, like fiercely protect. And if you don't give yourself a realistic number, then it just becomes this vicious cycle of like, you bit off more than you can chew. And then you feel like shit because you didn't actually do it. And then you're like, why do I do marketing in the first place? It makes me feel terrible. And I don't get, right? So don't spiral, be realistic with yourself, and then just commit to that amount of time that you said you would commit to.
I mean, but Tayler, you bring up a very good point. It's however much time you can commit and protect. Because the thing is, you don't want to say that you have an hour or even 2 hours and then a week goes by and you've done no marketing. Because I don't know what your phrase is. I'm going to tell you what mine is, and then you can kick back with what your similar phrase is, because all of us have got one. I say you market today for who books you in 90 days. Yeah, she's shaking her head. Yes, guys. So you're marketing now, and if you don't market this week, you're probably not going to see an immediate change. If you don't market next week, same thing. But I can tell you guys from personal experience this year, you guys all know I barely worked for a whole quarter. I'm now feeling the fact that I didn't market very much in Q1 or Q2 of this year. Like, now is where I would usually get the fruits of my marketing labor from like the end of Q1 into Q2. And lo and behold, I am here and there is no one beating down my door. And so protecting that time and making sure that you're doing, even though I had a really good excuse for not doing it. I mean, and I even say this, Tayler, there was marketing being done. It just wasn't being done by me. I mean, but it wasn't the kind of marketing that I would normally do that actually brings in the clients. But protecting that time, making sure that you are keeping to that time every single week in order to do your marketing activities is one of the best things that you can do for your business. Yeah. But let's talk about marketing activities.
Yeah.
Because there are so many in so little time. So how does one decide, I've got 2 hours this week? How should I spend that time marketing my business? How does one decide that?
You know, it's not as complicated as everybody thinks, because strategy is this word that is so loaded and it feels so big and complicated. And you go to Google and you try to figure out what it means, and you're like, I am more confused now than when I was typing my question into Google. So the way, kind of to quickly piggyback off of what you said and how do we explain the importance of marketing over time? If you take nothing else away from me in this conversation today, I want you to remember this phrase: marketing is like farming, right? It's exactly what you said. Like, if you don't dedicate yourself and some of your time to the action of like planting a seed, taking care of said seed, making sure said seed is, protected from the elements, you won't have anything to harvest come the time that you are hungry and need food, right? So marketing is like farming. But when you are trying to figure out what are you going to do in that 1 or 2 hours a week that you have, the most important thing is to think of what are your goals? Because if you don't have goals, then you are just totally marketing by accident, right? You're just waking up every day and winging it, or flying by the seat of your pants, or, every other cliche that you can come up with. And so it starts by looking at your goals and then creating a sort of plan that works backward from there. And for most people, the place that they get stuck is figuring out, where am I going to do my marketing? Now, there are some really core marketing channels, right? Those are the places that you can do your marketing that are very consistent in some industries. And in the creative entrepreneur space, we're talking about social media, we're talking about email marketing, we're talking about referrals and Pinterest usually, and then blogging and SEO, right? Like, those are kind of the core 5. Do you agree with that?
I do. And I just want to interject that in this series, we are going to hear from experts that talk about all of those except social media, guys. I purposely left social media off because I feel like when it comes to marketing, everybody talks about social media. And I've had so many social media marketing experts on this podcast. I wanted to make sure that you guys really heard about, like she said, of referral marketing. We're also going to talk about affiliate marketing. We're going to talk about the kinds of marketing that maybe you didn't know exist, because the world just always talks about Instagram, and Instagram is not marketing.
Nope, it is not. It is not marketing. It's one of the things you can do to market your business, but it is not. Those marketing and Instagram are not synonymous. They're not one and the same thing. So when it comes to figuring out, okay, strategically, what am I going to do with this like precious little bit of time that I have? Most people in 1 or 2 hours a week only have the capacity to do anything significant on like 3 marketing channels. Okay. And I don't typically include referrals in those 3 because it's not something that you have to give even monthly attention to, right? Like, you're going to do what you need by going to networking groups and being a part of communities and serving your clients really, really well so that they want to refer you. But so when we're talking about the other things, most people can only do 3. And so the way that I like to look at someone's sort of monthly calendar is, we want to create a routine. We want to create a pattern that becomes familiar over time, because familiar things become easy to do. And so if we're going to kind of talk about an example where someone's doing blogging, social media, and email marketing, my approach is to start with the heavy lift, to use a totally corporate. I fucking hate that I use that term now. It's so corporate.
I keep hearing low lift recently though, and I'm like, oh my God, can we talk more about low lift?
Low lift things.
But I'm with you, Taylor. I'm with you.
So if you're just listening, I totally rolled my eyes as I was like saying, oh, it's a heavy lift. But this is why having business partners who have done a lot more time on the corporate world is a bad influence. So like, choose your friends wisely, folks. But so for a lot of people, blogging is the thing that's going to take more time for most people, because y'all hate writing, but we have AI copywriters now, so no one has an excuse. But so I like to start week 1, you're going to write a blog post. And the reason I say you have no excuse now because of AI copywriters is an AI copywriter will literally draft a 600 to 800 word blog post for you in seconds. And so even if you spend another 30 minutes revising it, adding things, deleting things, and then, the 10, 15 minutes it takes to put it in your website, in your blog, and get it published, like, you can do that now in an hour. So that's what I like to do with week 1. Then week 2 and 4, I like to suggest that people schedule social media content.
Okay.
Because now you've got your blog, you can repurpose that across, the content that you're scheduling. You can work in the other things. Most people are not trying to crank out 5 reels a week or more. And right. So if you're just posting a couple times, if you're just showing up, like popping up and down, like, hi, I'm here, I'm here, then you can do that. You can schedule 1 or 2 weeks of content in an hour or two. And then that third week is where you're going to sit down and you're going to schedule some email newsletters to go out. And then you're just going to lather, rinse, repeat on this cycle. And it becomes something that's very intentional because you're showing up on the 3 core channels that are a part of your marketing strategy. And you're staying top of mind with folks in all of those places rather than like, I haven't done anything yet. I should probably blast out an email newsletter because no one's heard from me there in 4 months. Like that's the exact opposite of what we're talking about here.
Yeah. And I just want to say a couple things that have come up in like the many podcast episodes that I have recorded related to this marketing idea of different channels. Guys, number one, you probably have a very small handful of people that are going to see what you post on every single channel. So please don't be afraid of repeating yourself or talking about the same topic or the same content on all 3 channels, because the people that are following you on Instagram are probably not the same people that are on your email list, are probably not the same people that are going to go to your blog naturally. Like you're going to get organic traffic to your blog, but people on your email newsletter are not going to know that you wrote a blog unless you tell them. Like no one is searching your website every week to be like, did Coley write a new blog post this week? Let me come see. So you also have like, once you've done that hard labor for whatever your core piece of content is, you mentioned a blog post, Taylor, and I love that. Mine happens to be the podcast. Mm-hmm. So if I've put all my effort into this podcast episode, that is whatever the topic is, whatever the idea is, I can then use that for the other pieces that you were talking about. So guys, I'm going to say your low lift is that once you have done the heavy lift for the blog, the low lift is just taking the same shit that you've already talked about and sprinkling it around like glitter.
Yeah.
Like pixie dust.
Yeah. I take longer form Instagram content that performed decent, and I legit just turn that into an email newsletter because it's about the same length, right? I'm not one of those people that's going to write an actual novel in their email newsletters. That's not my personal style. But a long Instagram caption with a couple, graphics or photos throughout it, that's is a very robust email newsletter. So like the marketers are shameless about doing this. And there's someone at some point told small business owners that every piece of content needs to be unique. Like that's bullshit. Like yes. Be smart like the professional marketers who are repurposing all of their shit all of the time.
Yes. And I mean, that's not to say that whatever you produce this month, which is July of 2024, you can't reuse that in January, as long as it's not time sensitive. Now, guys, if you write about summer shit in July, please don't repurpose that in January when it's the middle of winter for those of us in North America. Like, please don't do that. But other than that, like the things that you do now, you are going to be able to use it in the future. You're also going to be able to change it in the future. If you write something now and it doesn't land, figure out why it didn't land and do it better next time.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. I know. Are we done, Taylor? I mean, do you want to have a cocktail on our for the rest of our time? Did you know business owners often have their client information spread across their CRM, email marketing software, online shop, and project management tools, making it hard to access the information they need to make critical decisions? For this reason, having all of my client data gathered and centralized in one place has been the best decision I have made in recent years. That's exactly why I created a Client Hub template inside of Airtable just for you. From customizable zaps that make it easy to maintain to automations for communication, this easy-to-use Airtable template makes setting up your Client Hub a breeze. You can check it out inside my template shop at coleyjames.com/hub or at the link in the show notes of today's episode. Okay, So we've talked about how you get started in your time, and I don't want to glaze over the AI part that you've mentioned, because you mentioned that the AI blog writers can get something done for us within seconds. But Taylor, I never find that what AI spits out for me is good. So what is it that I have to do to get it postable? And believe me, this is a trick question because I know the answer.
Okay, cool. Because I was literally thinking, so my answer is going to sound like an asshole answer, but because this is a loaded question, it won't be an asshole answer. So one of the sort of phrases that I talk about when I'm talking about AI copywriters is trash in equals trash out.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the new skill that we all need to be honing, is the ability for us to prompt an AI chatbot, an AI copywriter, an AI image generator, because if we don't prompt it well, then we did not set it up for success.
Yes.
It's just how it is. Like these AI everything, it's not actually smart. It's just math being done at an insane scale, and it is guessing what the next likely word is as it's writing based on what you prompted it, right? So if you want an AI copywriter to give you a really good draft, like without you having to go, oh my God, I should start totally over again. There's a couple things that it needs to understand. The first is it needs to understand what its role is in all of this, right? So, if you're using, I'm going to do like a little bit of a shameless plug here. There's a difference between how you would prompt something like ChatGPT or Jasper to write for you and how you would need to prompt Enji's AI copywriter, because I have set things up so that you can be a little bit more lazy because I've done like the technical work behind the scenes for you. So that being said, if you're starting from scratch and you want to learn this skill, because it is important to me that people learn the skill, it needs to understand what its role is. So you are a helpful marketing assistant, right? Like that's what that is. You need to tell it what function is it trying to serve or fulfill. Then it needs to understand what its goal is. So you are a helpful marketing assistant with the goal of writing a 1,000 word blog post. Okay. So now you've oriented it as to, this is the mission, right? That I want you to accomplish. Then you need to give it context. You need to give it details to work off of, because if you don't, it will just go out onto the internet and look for things and say, is this what you wanted? And most of the time you're gonna be like, no, it's dog shit. That's terrible. And also the internet is a big scary place and it's going to come up with like crazy shit, right? Like, so you want to give it context and like bring those constraints in a little bit more so that it's really staying in its lane. And then lastly, you want it to understand what's the voice that it needs. How does it need to sound, right? Brand voice has become more and more of a topic of conversation because of AI copywriters. And I'm glad, like the copywriter in me is like, thank goodness people are starting to understand the importance of these like fundamental marketing pieces. But, you need to be able to communicate how you want it to sound. Are you dry and sarcastic, or are you like soft kid gloves? I'm so warm and approachable and I'm like the kindest human on the planet, right? Like you need to teach it these things. And over time, if you're using one platform like ChatGPT, it will learn these things, but you have to constantly coach it, right? With something like Enji, we've taken out that responsibility because we know everyone's fighting time. And we're like, everyone just needs the lowest lift possible to get something done. But that's how you get a not shitty draft from an AI copywriter. And that's how it really can save you time.
Yeah, I always feel like you should also take it and treat and actually I didn't say this, Don Richardson said it, but it's like the best thing that I've heard. Your ChatGPT, or I should say anything that's publicly available on the internet. So ChatGPT, Claude, all of those, treat them like they're an intern. Treat them like they are capable, but you have to tell them what you need and want. And when they give you something that's unacceptable, you don't tell an intern, oh, okay, thanks for trying. And then you spend hours fixing it. Do you do that? No. You tell them what's wrong with it and tell them, try again. And so if everybody could just approach their AI copywriter in that manner, that is how you get better drafts. Now, when it gives you something that's unacceptable, it's like the same thing as a photographer training their editor. You have to tell them how what they did was different than what you expected. And the whole thing about training your AI, like things like Enji, or when you get something that's very specific to write like a specific blog or a specific email, someone like Tayler was behind the scenes, basically telling it what an appropriate output would be for an email, telling them what an appropriate output for a blog is. I mean, ChatGPT doesn't automatically know what you find appropriate for a blog. So again, you have to train her, him, whatever it is that you're doing.
Yep.
Whatever pronoun.
Yep.
Actually, you know what? Maybe someone should ask ChatGPT
what its pronouns are.
What are their pronouns?
I would be curious. But know, this is one of the reasons why I know a lot of people are concerned, even if they won't publicly admit it, that AI is coming for their job. It's only going to come for your job if people somehow all of a sudden become 100% accurate at describing what it is they want, right? And in the context of just this conversation that we're having right now, it's hard to communicate exactly what it is you want, right? And so dial the temperature down, like no one has to freak out. I mean, maybe copywriters need to freak out a little bit about
I still don't think they need to freak out.
No, because it's just another tool, right? But that's the only one where I'm like, there's a direct line where there are some people who are going to be impacted by this in the short term.
Yes.
But someone who designs websites or writes website copy or is a brand photographer, or like AI is not coming for your job because trash in, trash out, right? Like humans are only good at setting trash fires. And so that's where we're at this point.
No. And I mean, you and I both know Kara, and she recently wrote a blog post for me where she used the analogy of a Swiss Army knife. And I read her draft and I was like, oh, that's cute. And then I closed it and I walked away. And I came back and I was like, no, absolutely not. So then I removed the Swiss Army because that's just not something that I would reference. Again, guys, I'm not outdoorsy. So I went in there and took 5 minutes to change it from Swiss Army knife to magical unicorn assistant. I mean, clearly I had just interviewed Emily Reagan, who will also be in this series later down the road. She talks about hiring magical marketing assistants, but I changed it to be my magical unicorn assistant. And I changed it in a few places and I sent it back to Kara and I said, Kara, I took away Swiss Army knife. I would never say that. I said, but can you go read it and make sure that I didn't completely fuck it up? And she read it and she's like, no, that's great. And she's like, I will never make a reference like that again. I mean, great. But I just I'm not doing this to call out my blog writer, who, by the way, is next week's guest. I am doing it because even if you are hiring a human, they still need to be told when they are using an example of something that you would personally never say. And one of the things that I found out recently, I've seen so many prompt, like buy my prompts. And I was like, what exactly am I buying? But now that I'm like really jumping into AI, I'm like, oh, you're really getting like the step-by-step from them of how you get better drafts out of AI. But someone the other day was like, well, you should start by, what is a list of words that you use? And I was like, how would I tell somebody a list of words that I use? I don't know.
I know. That's a hard question for most people to answer. Like, what do you say? What do you not say? Yeah. They feel like very basic questions, but as someone who has written a ton of copy for people and has an intake form where I would ask those things, like more than half the time that section would be left blank because it's just like, I don't fucking know what I don't say.
I'm not going to leave it blank anymore though, Taylor. I'm going to take 5 different podcast transcripts and feed it into ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, what words do I use over and over again when I interview my guests? Bam!
Fuck, rainbows, unicorns.
Fuck. I mean, I think of more words that I use. But I mean, that's also like the power of AI. I mean, again, guys, nobody is saying that you do it and it gives you something and in 2 seconds you hit publish. But it gets you from a blank page to somewhere that you feel comfortable starting to edit. And it takes, if it would normally take the average person a couple hours to write a decent blog post, AI and other tools are helping you get it done in that 1 to 2 hours that Taylor asked you. What kind of time do you have every week to commit and protect for your marketing activities?
Yep. And, speaking of, marketing with intention, that's That's why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the overarching rainbow to this conversation. You know, I don't think that you can have a conversation about intentional marketing and just talk about strategy, because we don't do marketing for ourselves. We do it for our people, right? And so one of the amazing things that we all can do now using AI is dive into our customer insights like we never have before.
Mm-hmm.
And I often talk about this. It's in my AI and marketing presentation, but you guys are going to get it here too, is, you know, we are all sitting on data sets and we don't typically think that we're doing that.
Yeah.
But if you were to think of, okay, well, if I took all of my inquiry emails, and if I took all of my client reviews, and if I took all of the it's not you, it's me emails, people that went in a different direction, and I fed them to an AI chatbot and asked them for the common sentiments, the common words and phrases, how much fucking smarter would I be about how I need to intentionally do my marketing? Because now I am in my people's heads, right? They're giving you the words, the phrases, the emotional strings to pull on, because as humans, we don't have the time to go through and like read all of these things and try to find the patterns. Like that's not a thing. I'm not asking you to do that. But what I am asking you to do is use this new tool to help yourself get way more intentional with understanding who your target ideal customers and clients are and what messages you need to be putting in front of them.
Absolutely. And the systems girl in me is going to tell you, listen, guys, I know that you guys see sometimes when people are like, oh, somebody said something kind about me on Instagram, screenshot it. I want you to take it one step further, and I want you to copy and paste the text into somewhere. I'm going to suggest an Airtable database, but a Google Doc will work too. You need to be putting all of these things in a central location so that when you are ready to do these marketing tasks and ask an AI bot to help you, you have all of this stuff at your fingertips so that you can, you know, work on your customer insights, just like Tayler gave us an example of now, because all of those things are going to help you get better at your marketing in less time, which is the key to marketing with intention. I mean, I can't give you more time. I'm sorry. Maybe if we lived close to each other and like your kids were driving you up a wall and I took your kids for an hour, I could give you an hour, but that's not going to happen for most people. So we've got to get you better at marketing in the time that you can protect and commit to that activity, and then make sure that you're actually doing it on an ongoing basis. So Tayler, how do you make sure that people are doing their marketing on an ongoing basis and that they're not saying, oh, whoops, I didn't have time this week. Maybe next week will be better.
I mean, for those of you who are watching the video, you are experiencing the facial expressions. If you're listening, just know that I like sighed and had a sad look on my face, because this is one of the things that I know. And it's very much tied to the fact that like businesses and life goes and life's on us, and time gets taken away from us. But what the like psychological thing that I feel like I will be a bazillionaire if I figure this out is why for small business owners, right? Why is marketing the can that always gets kicked down the road? Exactly. For the dumbest reasons, right? I have my hypotheses about it, but as an example, you know, you've sat down and you're starting to write a blog post, and then one of your clients emails you, and then you just totally shift gears and you go down the rabbit hole, and they're like, oh, can we actually get on a call? And then boom, that blog post that's not getting written. There are things like that happen all of the time. And that's why at the very start of this conversation, like, you have to protect that time, right? Because if you let things overwrite it, they will overwrite it, and then that time is gone. And so there is, the only thing that I can come up with is like, it has to come from within you. Like, I am literally here investing countless hours. At this point, I've already been working on Enji for 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. Like we've only been launched for a little over a year, but you guys, it takes like a fuck ton of time to get a startup off the ground. And way too much actual like money from like my personal banking account and then opportunity costs. Like I am literally trying to create software that helps small business owners fight time, like win their battle against time. But I have to do that because y'all kick the can down the road. And so if someone knows the answer to that question, then I am all ears here, because like I said, my hypotheses are that you're not comfortable doing marketing, right? Like your confidence level around it is low enough that when something else comes up, you're like, I'd rather do that because that will make me feel good for whatever reason. That's my big hypothesis. But when push comes to shove, I can only lead the horse to water and I can't get you to drink it. And most people can't afford to have like all of their marketing completely outsourced, right? Like that's the only way to truly solve this problem right now. And that's not an option for a lot of folks. So it's the one question where I'm like, well, fuck if I know.
But I mean, you're doing a really good job of starting though. Because I will say, when you sign up with Enji and you're setting up your marketing plan, you're sending those emails that are like, hey, I mean, it's helping you create your calendar. And yes, if you have something on your calendar, and I know that you said it in one of your onboarding emails, I'm pretty sure it was, but like, if this doesn't feel good to you, let's take it off and choose something else that feels good. So I think that where people get lost is, first of all, they don't really have somebody telling them what to do every step of the way. Like, hey, if your plan is to use 2 hours, these are my recommendations. But you also give them the time and space to say, if you don't like any of these recommendations, let's pick something else. That's number one.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, once you actually get into the groove of things, I feel like clients seeing results are what help them get motivated to do their marketing. Because someone like me, it wasn't that I stopped marketing this year because I didn't see the value in it, or that I didn't know how to do it, or that in most times I can't commit the time to it. It's just literally I was physically unable to do it. But like, once you figure out how great marketing can be, and when you market effectively and when you feel good marketing, it brings in the clients that are very aligned with whatever the service is that you do. Like, that's where you get more motivated to do the marketing versus that other shit that like pulls you down. Because we all say that we don't have time to outsource our marketing, or maybe we don't have the budget, maybe we're not in a place in our business, but like bookkeeping is really that thing that no one likes to do. And it's so mundane, but like bookkeeping is literally not a revenue generating task in your business. Marketing can be. Marketing is. And so I would just plead and beg everyone. I understand that taking care of your clients is usually that top tier activity. And I get it. Tayler gets it. I think everybody gets it. But you also have to make sure that you're not overburdening yourself with clients so that you can still market for the new clients that you need down the road. Now, if you get 5 clients and you work with those 5 clients every single month and you don't need new clients, I'm probably not talking to you. I'm talking to the people who helped 5 people this month, and you need a different 5 people next month, or whatever it is that your number goal is.
Yep. I know you need to make the plan. You need to do the plan. And then you need to figure out how you can do it more efficiently over time, right? And so one of the things that I love that you talked about, kind of this, you basically were talking about positive reinforcement, right? And seeing the fruits of your labor. And one of the things that no one does is track numbers. And so that's why we have this fabulous and pretty KPI dashboard for you to track your numbers. And you know, we celebrate KPI Day in the Enji community, but that's one of the things, like you build the routine. And then my hope is that Enji is like the little tippy tap on your shoulder that keeps you accountable, at least aware that like, hey, you said you were going to do this and you didn't.
Listen to your voice, Tayler. Don't be shy. Say it with your chest. Hey, girl, you said you were going to do this. Did you do this shit?
Yeah.
Check yes for yes and no for no. And if you didn't, I'm going to remind you again tomorrow.
You know, I'm trying to, sometimes I try to read the room. I should build this in like, hey, do you want Enji to talk to you like Tayler, like,
oh my God, Tayler, that would be amazing.
Or do you want soft kid gloves? Like oh, I understand that life got in the way. Maybe we can fit this in. It's like, what the fuck, man? Like, why didn't you do this? So we can have, we can have a scale of things there.
I mean,
but
you're
like
joking, but I'm like, I really want to see that in Enji in like the next month or so. Do you want tough love, or do you want me to be like that kind soul? Yeah, exactly.
But the KPI is really, it's one of the features that I have been surprised that so many people are like latching onto. Yes. And it makes me so happy, because it is how you actually start to get better and more intentional at marketing over time, because you see where your marketing efforts are paying off, and you are seeing where it's a waste of resource. And then you can ditch the things that, even if you were emotionally attached to it, if at the end of the day, these numbers are telling you the truth and that it is not worth the time and money, then you just have to walk away from it. And that's how you get better over time. And then the core of marketing is do more of what works, but you have to know what works in order to do more of it. So yeah, track your numbers, folks.
I mean, Taylor, I'm listening to you, and I'm feeling like a lot of people need that tough love with relation to Instagram. I can't tell you the number of people, and I am very clear with people. I'm like, I don't book people from Instagram. Like, I do podcast stuff over there, but I mean, I don't get people from Instagram. But if you don't know where you're getting your people from, you don't know where to spend your time and energy. I know where I get my people from. I get my people from going in other people's communities. I get my people from podcasting with guests, amazing people like you, and getting to know more people out in the world. That is how I sell my systems. People don't see me talking on Instagram and automatically hire me. That is not a thing. But if I wasn't tracking where the clients and the leads that I get come from, I would never know that, hey, Instagram's not where it's at. Now, I also want people, though, I want to make sure that people aren't just looking at that first step. Because I will say there are probably people that find me on Instagram and then go read my blog posts and do other things. And, I don't want to shame that. But like, if you're not getting people from Instagram, I would really encourage you to like think of some other channels that you can go be on and experiment. Think of it as a game. What else can we do today in the marketing world for my business?
Yes. And I do want people to think about their marketing channels as a tiered system, right? What is most important and most impactful for your business and getting you more inquiries, and what is at the bottom of that? And so for you, it's like, yeah, I'm going to show up on Instagram intermittently, but it is not where I'm like, gonna dedicate a lot of my energy, and that's fine. Like, again, little things that we have in Enji that made sense to me, and then I'm like very thankful for conversations like this. I'm like, because I wasn't crazy thinking about
you went crazy, Taylor.
I wasn't crazy, but at the bottom of a marketing strategy where you see your recommended channels, if you click into a channel, you can make the circle bigger or smaller, because I want people to be able to visually represent what should be taking up more of the oxygen in the room and living a little bit more rent-free in my brain, versus these other things that I'll just let myself go through the motions on. And so you do have to come up with that hierarchy of things. And for you, it's like podcast is number one. And then I'm going to guess email marketing is number two, and Instagram rounds it out. And that's cool, because you can emotionally not be so damn attached to the insatiable monster that is social media.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say for me that regardless of how I'm getting the people, my blogs have good conversion rates themselves. Like, that gives them like a bigger picture that they couldn't like see on a podcast clearly. Cause unless you're watching it on a video, but even then I'm not like showing you my computer or anything. But I feel like I just want everybody to dedicate the time. I want everybody to do the activities, and I want them to not forget to write something about how it felt to them doing it and or what the results were. Like, all three of those things need to be part of when you are trying to market your business with intention, so that you aren't just throwing things out and not kind of figuring out how to pivot and change your plan as you go. Because that's the other thing. Nothing in the business world is set it and forget it. Like, I am just telling you, dedicate a little time. Now, don't be changing your strategy every week, guys. Gosh, I felt like I did. Taylor is just really shaking her head now, guys. I am not saying change your plan every week, but I am saying have a plan, do it for a while. And then if nothing is coming of that, it is time for you to reevaluate and move forward.
Yep. I second all of those things.
Okay, Taylor. So we have said Enji like so many times, and I honestly feel bad because I didn't want it to sound like an infomercial, even though we totally could have made this an infomercial. But now I feel like you should just give us like a solid idea of what Enji is and what it would do for your business, and then a link where the listening audience can learn more.
Yeah, I never want any opportunity that I have to chat with folks. I don't want it to be an infomercial for Enji.
Well, I just felt like if we like talked about it at the beginning, they'd be like, oh, they're just going to talk about her program, which I mean, her program really nicely aligns with everything that we talked about, guys. I would know, but continue.
Yes. So Enji is marketing software for small business owners who have to do their own marketing, but are not marketing experts. And the reason it's basically me as a marketing consultant turned into software so that you have someone who's either slapping you across the face or soft kid gloving you to like, here's what you need to do, right? Enji's going to tell you what to do. It's going to help you build a routine, and it's going to help you track your progress so that you can get better at this whole marketing experiment over time. But the core of our tools is a marketing strategy tool, because all y'all are out there just like operating without one. And maybe you're like, no, Taylor, I only have one. Then my follow-up question is it documented or does it live in your head?
That part.
Because if you can't share it with other people, you don't have one. So you can create a marketing strategy. And then there are the tools that you need to actually start to do the marketing strategy. Because that, right, like you can't just have the plan. You have to execute on the plan. But what I'm trying to build, that my big swing of the biggest baseball bat I could ever imagine. And I'm so excited because as we're recording this, we've started development on the second version of our marketing strategy. Is I know that what we need to do in order to build something that everyone's like, fuck, is Enji is moving to a place where we are following the 80-20 rule, where Enji's going to do 80% of your marketing things for you. So that, right, because 80% done by someone else is 100% fucking awesome. So that's what we're doing here. And so like the strategy is going to not just be the plan, like it's going to then drop, hey, here's your marketing strategy. We know your brand voice. We've talked, like we've created a social media plan. We know your content buckets and pacing and platforms. Like when you click create your strategy in the future, it's going to drop a week's worth of Facebook posts that are already drafted on your calendar attached to the scheduler. So all you need to do is add some media and approve it and make some late revisions. It's going to drop blog posts that are relevant to your service or product in the Copywriter. So again, you're just coming in with the final pass on things. And I'm like sitting here like so impatient about it because it's going to take us like 4 months to build all this, if not more time, because it is such a big swing. But I am so amped to actually get it to that point because I have talked to too many small business owners. I am a multi-hyphenate serial entrepreneur. Most of my social circle are also self-employed. And I know this is what we need in order to survive this whole, I'm a one-person marketing department and I'm responsible. And it's just one of the hats that I wear. So if you want to try it out in its current version, it's still fucking awesome. It'll be even better in the future. But you can go to our website, which is enji.co, and you can do a free 2-week trial there and scope everything out, and then join the community and be along for the ride as we keep pushing and building even better things.
Yeah. Guys, I really hope that if you take nothing away from this conversation, you listen to the advice that Taylor and I have both given you about protecting the amount of time, whatever that time is, and just making sure that whatever marketing efforts you are doing, that they feel good to you. They are in a way going to bring you the clients that are ideal for the services that you have, and that you are also tracking those efforts and the fruits of what happens from those activities in some fashion. Next week, Kara Duncan is going to be on the podcast. I mean, guys, this feels so good. I don't think I've ever announced the next guest ever on this podcast, but Kara Duncan, who Tayler and I both know, is going to be here. And she is going to be talking about creating long-term marketing efforts in blogging and Pinterest. And it is truly going to be a continuation of this conversation that I have with Tayler. So please subscribe to the podcast and make sure that you get the episode when it drops. Tayler, thank you so much for joining me for this episode. It was as amazing as I envisioned in my head.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for creating a safe space where I can say fuck.
I mean, I feel like I got all my fucks in today. It's great. All right, everyone. That's it for this episode. See you next time.